Most people think being hard to read means you're cold, distant, or hiding something. Pause. It usually means something else entirely. Measured. You're not hard to read because you don't feel. You're hard to read because you feel everything, and you learned early that showing it wasn't safe. Softer. So your face learned to stay still. Your voice learned to stay even. Pause. And somewhere along the way, people started calling that mysterious, gentle. But what it really is protection. And once you understand it, you'll start to see a different person staring back at you in the mirror. Pause. Picture this. Warm. You're sitting across from someone at a dinner party. They're telling a story about their week, a small win at work, a quiet fight with their partner, the dog that's been acting strange lately. You're listening. You're nodding at the right moments. Slow. Inside, your mind is doing something else entirely. You're reading the room like a tide chart. You notice the way their voice shifted when they mentioned their mother. You sense that the small win they're announcing isn't really a celebration. It's a quiet request for permission to feel proud. Pause. You see all of it, and you say, almost nothing. Softer. And later someone will say to you, I could never tell what you were thinking. Pause. Here's the thing most people miss. Measured. Being hard to read isn't a personality flaw. It's an adaptation. Your nervous system figured out, probably long before you had language for it, that showing your full emotional landscape to other people wasn't safe. Pause. Maybe the home you grew up in rewarded composure and punished expression. Maybe the people around you treated your feelings like inconveniences they didn't have time for. Maybe you simply watched the world long enough to learn that stillness is safer than transparency. Slightly heavier. Whatever the original reason, your brain made a quiet decision early on. Stay unreadable. And that single decision has followed you into every room you've walked into since. Pause. The first layer of this is hypervigilance, disguised as calm. Quiet intensity. You look relaxed. You're absolutely not. You're scanning. Always scanning. You read micro-expressions the way other people read headlines. You notice weight shifts in posture, the half-second pause before someone answers a question, the way someone's laugh arrives a beat too late. Pause. Psychologists sometimes describe this kind of attention as high-sensitivity processing, but that phrase makes it sound like a gift and a curse in equal measure. Gentle. The truth is more ordinary than that. You just never stopped paying attention. As a kid, paying attention meant survival. Slightly heavier, so your radar never turned off. It just got quieter on the outside. Pause. But that's only part of it. Measured. The second layer is emotional self-containment. You learn to carry your feelings in private storage. Not because you don't have them, you have plenty. But because unloading them at the wrong moment had consequences, you can still feel if you let yourself. Pause. So you built an internal vault. Sadness, anger, longing, tenderness, all of it goes inside. The door closes. Softer. You walk back out into the room composed. People admire your steadiness. They tell you how grounded you are. What they don't know is that the vault is heavy. Quiet intensity. And sometimes, late at night, you wonder if you'll ever find anyone you trust enough to open it in front of. Pause. Here's where it gets deeper. Slightly heavier. The third layer is that you've become an expert reader of everyone and a stranger to yourself. You can walk into a room and know within 5 minutes who's uncomfortable, who's performing confidence they don't actually feel, who's one sentence away from tears. You pass emotional subtext the way other people pass text messages. Pause. Research into emotional attunement suggests this kind of fast reading usually isn't innate. It's trained, built up over years of close attention to the people around you. Gentle. But here's the strange part. When someone turns the lens back toward you and asks, "What are you really feeling right now?" you often don't have the words. Slightly heavier. Because so much of your interior life runs in the background, below the level of language. You've spent so long reading everyone else that you've barely introduced yourself to them. Pause. And this is the part most people miss. Quiet intensity. The fourth layer is that being hard to read can feel profoundly lonely. People mistake your quiet for not needing them. Pause. So they don't check in. They don't ask the second question. They assume you're fine because your face tells them you are. Softer. And you not wanting to burden anyone, not wanting to break your own unspoken rule, don't correct them. So the loneliness compounds quietly, measured, not the dramatic kind, the kind that lives in the small gap between being surrounded by people and feeling fully known by any of them. Pause. There's a fifth layer too, the one that's harder to admit, slightly heavier. Somewhere in your life, you learned that being understood can be dangerous. That the people who got close sometimes used what they found as leverage. That being seen often meant being handled. Pause. So unreadable started to feel like freedom. Mysterious started to feel like armor. Gentle. And the version of you that other people see, calm, observant, slightly above the chaos. That version is real. It just isn't all of you. Pause. You look detached, but you feel the room like a weather system. Measured. People assume you're aloof, but you're usually the person who quietly notices when a friend stopped laughing 3 weeks ago. You seem unbothered by what's happening around you, but you can still remember the exact tone someone used when they promised they'd be there for you, and the exact week they stopped being. Slightly heavier. You built a fortress, and you built it for good reasons. But you also built it so well that the people who would have loved you best can't find a way in. Quiet intensity. That's not coldness. That's not distance. That's a door that doesn't know how to stay unlocked. Pause. And it's worth saying honestly, measured, this same strength can quietly turn against you. The radar that keeps you safe can also keep you exhausted. The vault that protects your feelings can also isolate you from the people who would have held them. The unreadable quality that once saved you can become the very thing that convinces your closest friends you've stopped needing them at all. Pause. That's not a failure. Gentle. That's just what happens when a survival strategy outlives the environment that built it. You don't have to dismantle the whole wall. You just have to start opening one window. Softer. Slowly. On your own terms. Pause. You were never hard to read because something in you was missing. Slightly heavier. You were hard to read because something in you was protecting itself. The world gave you reasons to stay still, and you listened. Pause. But the deepest version of you, the one underneath the composure, underneath the radar, underneath all the long pauses measured, that version has been waiting. Gentle, not to be decoded, just to be met. Pause. So tell me honestly, warm, do most people call you mysterious, or do they call you cold? Drop it in the comments. Gentle.